Orlando home prices have appreciated rapidly over the past 2+ years. Is Orlando affordable anymore? And what does the future hold for Orlando's housing affordability? I'll answer those questions and talk about a strategy to get a more affordable home toward the end of the video. First off, how did we get here? Well, more people have been moving to Orlando, like remote workers, now that you don't necessarily have to be face-to-face for work now. The usual retirees and people who have planned to move here for a while. And I think, with the pandemic, it's had some people have decided to move up their plans a little bit. So we had a big rush of people coming here kind of all at once. And so it created a supply versus demand issue. And then, of course, we had investors, and more people were interested in getting a vacation home here, or doing like a combination of like a short-term rental and then also doing like vacation stuff for themselves. All of that's created a high demand. Now, you may have heard about there being a high vacancy rate here in Orlando, and really that has to do with the amount of vacation homes and rentals that we have here. So it's not that there's just like a bunch of vacant homes ready to be sold or something like that. It really just has to do with vacation homes and rentals. Another thing that's happened in Orlando that's kind of changed the landscape a little bit is the shift of people who live here. Obviously, Orlando, we're known for our service industry and tourism, and now we've had a shift of some of the jobs that have come here to Orlando where they're more high paying. Not to say that we're not major tourism industry, because we are, and that will always be like our number one thing is tourism, but we've sort of diversified a little bit the different jobs that are here. Because we've had higher paying jobs come here to Orlando, there are people who can spend more money on a home. So all of this has raised the prices of homes in Orlando. Because we're having so much appreciation happen here in Orlando, that means that the homes are getting assessed higher. And because of that, now the property taxes are also higher. Also, services have gotten more expensive here, like pest control, lawn maintenance, all that kind of stuff. It seems like companies are trying to fight all the inflation and rising prices. And so now us as consumers get to have that burden, and things are just getting more and more expensive. And of course, we have home insurance rising. Obviously, home insurance has been really difficult in Florida recently. There's a lot of different things that have been going on in the whole home insurance thing. There's been legislation that's come out to help homeowners. It's really a big mess. My poor 94-year-old grandmother has been dealing with homeowner insurance issues, and I've had clients as well. And anyways, long story short, home insurance prices have been rising, and I think they're just going to keep on rising. It's getting more and more difficult to obtain and keep home insurance here in Florida. The cost of living here in Orlando in general is rising. I-4, which is our main interstate, and it's like the only interstate that we have that wasn't toll-free, now has a portion that's a toll road. It's more of like an express lane type thing, so you don't have to use the toll portion of I-4, but it's just gotten more and more expensive to be able to get from point A to point B in Orlando. And if you're not familiar, all the other major like interstates are toll roads. So that's expensive. Sales tax might rise in Orange County from 6.5% to 7.5%. We don't know yet. That's something that's going to be on the ballot in November. So we'll see what happens. And then just general inflation, like the rest of the country, has hit Orlando. Now let's check out this Affordability Index. And so the way to read this is basically the average is at 100. So in 2020, we were rated 148.7. And in 2019, it was 142.2. And then just, putting it out there, in 2013, the affordability was rated at 181.90. So Although on paper, affordability may not be as bad as it was in 2013, I'm a human in the world and know having the ability to pay rent or your mortgage has gotten very difficult to do in Orlando. What's being done about the affordability issues? There are some legislative actions that have taken place or are in discussion. So one thing that's passed recently, and this is for Orange County, landlords have to give 60 days written notice for a rent increase of more than 5%. It's an election year, so there's a Florida candidate for the U.S. Senate who would like to impose a tax that would discourage investors from buying homes in Florida to fight the housing demand issue. Obviously, who knows if that guy will get elected? Who knows if he'll be able to do what he's talking about? But the conversations are being had. It's just a matter of what's actually going to happen. There is a possible rent control measure that could make it to the November ballot for Orange County, but we're not sure if that's going to happen yet. There has been some affordable housing developments that have been built recently in the Orlando area and some that are in development. Obviously, none of these are clear solutions on how to solve the affordability issues we're having in Orlando. So what do you think? Is Orlando affordable anymore? Let us know in the comments. Hitting the like button and commenting really helps out the channel, so do that if you don't mind, and consider subscribing if you haven't already. If you are a subscriber, I really appreciate your support. It means a lot. At the top of the video, I mentioned a strategy to potentially make the purchase of a home more affordable. And so basically the strategy is buying a new construction home from a builder. And when I say a builder, like one of the major national or regional builders, not just someone who's building one random home. New builds have been hard to come by, just like resale homes, within the past 2 or 3 years, and it's been very competitive. But we are seeing a shift. Builders are starting to do more incentives, closing costs, things like that. And then another thing builders are doing is you can lock in mortgage rates if you're using the builder's preferred lender. And they're also offering lower interest rates. Some are adjustable rate mortgages. So you just do have to be mindful of what that means. Basically, the short of it is most people nowadays are getting what's called a fixed rate mortgage. So let's say your rate is 5%, and that's going to be 5% for the life of the loan. An adjustable rate mortgage is you're given a rate, usually it's lower than what the fixed rate would be. But what can happen is after a certain amount of time, it really varies on what your contract says, but then your rate can adjust, and it can adjust lower. It can also adjust higher, and you have to assume that it's going to adjust higher. So the idea with that normally is you get the adjustable rate mortgage, so you can lock in a lower interest rate, and then at some point you can refinance and just get a fixed rate for the life of the loan. So obviously that's not going to work out for everybody, but it is something that, can really lower your monthly payment, because I've been seeing some interest rates being like 1% lower than what you can get out in the normal market. So it could be worth looking into. There's also advantages to buying a new construction home. Everything is new, so hopefully things won't break, right? And if they do, usually there's some sort of warranty attached, and some of the warranties go for 10 years. Now, those are more of the structural warranties, so if your washer and dryer breaks or something like that, usually that's, about a year or 2. It just depends on the builder. Another positive with having a new construction home is sometimes you can customize it a little bit. So essentially it's going to be move-in ready for you. So it's not like when you're buying a resale and you're like, man, I've got to paint and I want to change the appliances and do this and that. It's pretty easy to buy a home, and then after you buy it, you put in like $5,000-$10,000. It just gets really, really expensive. And so with a new construction home, you avoid some of that. Now, I realize that this strategy isn't a cure-all, and only works for some people, but hopefully you find some value in that information. Now, with the prices of everything rising, it's getting more and more difficult to be able to save for a down payment on a home. So there are down payment assistance programs that you can qualify for here in Orange County and in Florida in general. So reach out to me for more information about that. Is Orlando affordable anymore? Affordability is going to be subjective, but when looking at data, Orlando's affordability has been worse than what it is currently. It's also been better. The reality is it's getting more and more difficult for people to afford to live in Orlando. My hope is that things will change, and it could with a housing correction. Check out a video about the Orlando housing correction here, and this playlist for more videos like this. Reach out to me if you have any questions. My contact information is in the description below. Thanks for watching.